Major League Stock Car Racing, NASCAR's Winston Cup. There's nothing quite like it on the international sports scene. The best way to document the evolution of the most popular form of motorsports is to start from the beginning, with the dream of William Henry Getty France. Big Bill, the founding father of the National Association for Stock Car Auto Racing, NASCAR. It was on the hard-packed sands of Daytona Beach where the magic of Bill France's imagination began to really take shape. For France, it had to be American-made sedans, Fords, Chryslers, Chevrolets, along with Plymouths, Mercurys, and Hudson Hornets, something the working man could relate to. Before 1950, NASCAR was restricted to short tracks, few of which were made of asphalt. The hulking automobiles that were little more than souped-up passenger cars plowed up clouds of dust on many a dirt track in the South. It was always fun, was always exciting. But in 1950, it evolved dramatically. Hatched the notion that a big track, an honest-to-goodness super speedway, could be built in his hometown of Darlington, South Carolina. His dream came true, and in 1950, Darlington International Raceway came into existence. Less than 10 years later, Bill France accomplished another goal. In 1959, he opened Daytona International Speedway, something entirely new. Racing had never seen the likes of it. A mammoth 2.5-mile-in-distance track, its turns banked 31 degrees, and drivers soon learned that a shoe never had to touch the brake.
The country's top drivers ready their cars for the 160 miles of beach and bumpy road. All the cars are just as they came from the factory with absolutely no changes. The same cars you drive on America's highways. The starter's flag is up, and 48 late model automobiles zoom past the starting line.
A car hits the wall. Another hits him. He's heading for the wreckage. It's Wally Campbell. He's spilling gasoline. Wally Campbell's still in the burning car. He's out. He's safe.
Suddenly, 2 tons of automobile traveling 115 miles an hour disappears from sight. An oil slick on the first turn and a missing guardrail torn out in a previous accident was a combination Jack Smith couldn't handle. Although number 47 is completely wrecked, the driver walked away.
In the mid-1950s, auto racing in the United States suffered a series of tragic events that became public relations disasters, taking the sport to the brink of destruction. The death of open-wheel star Bill Vukovich at Indianapolis in 1955 saddened the racing community. Shortly after Vukovich's death, a horrifying crash at Le Mans in France killed 82 spectators. The United States Congress began to take notice of the increasing number of speeding tickets and accidents, many of which occurred on the newly created modern Eisenhower interstate highway system. Warranted or not, legislators cited the popularity and the influence of automobile racing as the leading cause. Washington threatened to ban all auto racing if safety did not improve. The final setback came in 1957 after a car went into the crowd at a NASCAR race in Martinsville, Virginia, critically wounding a child and injuring 4 fans. Feeling pressure, the American Manufacturers Association in 1957 pulled its support of racing. Next, the big 3 automakers publicly withdrew from NASCAR, though quietly they continued to supply teams through their dealerships. Finally, the venerable American Automobile Association, AAA, the leading sanctioning body in auto racing since the turn of the century, voted to leave racing altogether. While other racing bodies scrambled to deal with the 1957 fallout, Bill France saw the chain reaction of events as an opportunity to realize his ultimate dream for NASCAR.
All the hurdles that had been built in front of Bill France disappeared overnight. And there was the opening he needed to go out of the Southeast and promote NASCAR elsewhere in these United States.
Bill France needed a fresh new star to put a positive spin on NASCAR after 1957, and Glenn "Fireball" Roberts was the ideal candidate. The intelligent Roberts earned his nickname pitching for the minor league baseball team, the Zellwood Mudhens. Fireball was the perfect image NASCAR wanted to portray as the series began to move into the age of television. In the coming 1958 season, Fireball would win 6 out of 10 events, including the Southern 500. 2 of the wins were earned on super speedway tracks, making the brilliant young star the first racer to win 3 straight super speedway events in a single year.
For almost 200 miles, it's a Chrysler battle for first place with the lead changing 10 times between Plymouths and Dodges. When cars pit, the race still goes on. Fuel and tires in less than half a minute.
As soon as the automobile was invented, the obvious question was, how fast can it go? Answers were soon found on the hard sands of Ormond Beach and Daytona Beach, Florida. And after various speed records were set there in the early part of the 20th century, formal races were organized at Daytona beginning in 1936. In 1938, Bill France started promoting races on the beach, and in 1948, NASCAR was born. It was clear that as the population grew and the cars became more sophisticated, the beach would no longer be adequate. And after years of politics and financial adventures, Daytona International Speedway opened for racing in 1959. Petty and Beauchamp both fought to get around Joe Weatherly, who trailed by a lap. Watch how close it was.
In the final stretch, Weatherly is high on the track. Lee Petty in the center, Beauchamp below him. The checkered flag. The race is over. Both Petty and Beauchamp clock in the identical time. 3 hours, 41 minutes, 22 seconds.
Petty and Beauchamp both headed to victory lane, where Beauchamp was declared the unofficial temporary winner. Bill France put out a call for any and all photos or film of the finish. And finally, on the Wednesday after the race, this Hearst News of the Day footage confirmed that Lee Petty did, in fact, win the first Daytona 500.
As they come out of the 4th turn, they only have about 750 yards to go. Oh! It's a main straightaway. They did hit. Petty smashes into the wall. Will he come across the start-finish line? He's going to win the race. He's going to win it spinning, as he, I believe, will take the checkered flag. No, he did not make it. He is less than 100 yards from it.
And 3-time Winston Cup champion Dale Earnhardt was born into the sport. And even before his father, the legendary Ralph Earnhardt, won NASCAR's late model sportsman title, Dale Earnhardt had already informed his parents of a plan to one day be a race car driver, an intention he had made known when he was 5 years old. Dale Earnhardt, Darrell Waltrip, and Bill Elliott, the current heroes who thrill sellout crowds Sunday after Sunday. Rising stars like Ken Schrader, Kyle Petty, Davey Allison, Ricky Rudd, Sterling Marlin, who will carry the rich legacy of Winston Cup racing to the future. And especially the loyal spectators who have made the incredible NASCAR dream come true with their unyielding support. It is a high-powered, brightly painted sport, to be sure. But in the hands of hard-working, highly motivated, dedicated men and women, it becomes a tribute to the old-fashioned spirit of America. Yes, the NASCAR story is a human story of people with fierce determination and pride who work together to turn their dreams into a reality.
start engines by phone from Air Force One before the jet arrived in spectacular fashion as Petty's number 43 streaked down the backstretch. The final laps turned into an epic duel with future Hall of Famer Cale Yarborough passing Petty on the backstretch of the final green flag lap, only for the King to slingshot beneath Yarborough at the exit of Turn 4 for a dramatic race-winning pass.
Run straight. Here they are, Sam. They will come across the yellow line just about together, but Petty had the lead. As they come down this time, you are going to see a checkered flag for car number 43. Richard Petty has won the 200th race of his incomparable Grand National stock car racing career.
Your dad's probably your favorite driver, right? You know, well, personally, I like Jimmy Means a lot. You know, he's a real nice guy. I've liked him ever since, you know, he's driven for Broadway Motors, and it's been a long time. And, you know, I watch all kinds of people, you know, I like my dad, you know, he's my dad, but I got other favorites too.
What's the question, dude?
How was the race?
Well, it was hot, but it was fast.
Yeah, did you
just like you told me to go.
Yeah, did you draft a lot?
Yeah, I drafted just like you told me to for the race.
You didn't have to pass to me, did you?
Well, yeah, we had to race them pretty good there and watch our gas mileage there at the end, but we did exactly what you told us and we won the race.
Are you gonna give me some money when you get home?
I doubt it. You spent enough down here this week.
Oh, okay.
Kyle Petty is just a car length back of Earnhardt. 1 lap to go.
So they take the white flag, I watch them go off into one, and I knew in my mind it should be probably on the back stretch. And all of a sudden, the crowd was losing their flipping mind. I wonder what the hell's going on back there.
When they came out of the second turn, you could hear the cheers of the crowd over the cars.
Kyle pulls down to the bottom. Earnhardt runs him all the way to the bottom of the back straightaway.
Earnhardt did what he needed to do. He run us down there. Kyle did what he needed to do. He didn't lift. All bets were off on what was going to happen.
Now they touch. Earnhardt's car spins in turn number 3. Kyle Petty goes by as Earnhardt spins up to the outside of the track.
I eased up, and as I eased up, Dale went on in the corner, but then when he tried to turn, then he wrecks.
Kyle Petty coming to the checkered flag. Here comes Davey Allison.
I look back toward turn 4. Here comes the 28 and the 42 side by side. Well, where's the 3 car?
I mean, we were crossed our fingers, crossed our legs, and so I was doing this like, please.
Here comes Davey Allison to the bottom.
Davey Allison on the inside of Kyle Petty. They touch here at the stripe. Allison wins. Davey Allison wins the Winston, but pays a huge price.
It was like watching a foot race, and everybody's running for the tape. And as soon as you hit the tape, you see runners fall down and relax because that's where they're at. And we just got together.
We won, but then it went bad.
I mean, we've had the highest of highs and the lowest of lows.
We won, but then it went bad.
What is going on?
I called Nari Baird, who's the chief emergency guy for us. So I said, Nari, how is it? And he said, I don't know. He says he's unconscious, and that scared me to death.
When they reported back that he was unconscious, everything just changed.
The whole night had been such a great success and showed such promise. And to end it with a star driver, the winning driver, unconscious, was unthinkable.
We're back at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Davey Allison has been helped from his car. And rather than Victory Lane, he's going to be transported over to the infield care center.
The way he hit that wall and how hard he hit that wall, that was a heck of a lick.
We didn't have a lot of anything between our helmet and the wall. And he hit his head on the wall. Cut the roof off the car, pulled him out, took him to the hospital.
Bobby Allison and I got in the ambulance with Davey. And Davey had come to, He must have asked 10 times what happened. I said, well, pal, you won the race, but you wrecked. And he went, no way. And he'd go, what happened again now? I said, well, you won the race, but you wrecked. Wow. So what happened?
As Davey Allison arrived at the infield care center, attention shifted to the garage, where chaos of a different kind was brewing.
I think Kyle and Dale are going to do it in the pits.
Oh, you're right. Big deal at the Union Station.
When it was over with, you know, we went to the gas pumps after the race with Earnhardt. We all pulled in there, and everybody was gathered around and thought there was going to be this huge brawl that was going to break out. Kyle got out of his car. Big E got out of his, and their pit crew and our pit crew all went up together.
I was quite surprised when I got to the pumps and found Earnhardt laughing.
We disappointed people because Kyle and Earnhardt were high-fiving, and what a great race.
He went in the corner and tried to take what was his. That's all it was, racing. Yeah.
Racers use that stupid saying, it's just racing. But everything that happened that night was just racing.
At the end of the night, if you're a racer and you love this stuff and you understand this stuff, yeah, it was like, man, I hate it, but dang it, you know, I would have done the same thing that guy did, you know.
Are those the rules of the Winston?
I don't know about the rules. As racing, he was trying to win. I was too.
Tonight, on the flatbed, Davey Allison's car is going to victory lane.
For the first time in the history of NASCAR, and I hope the last time, the driver didn't show up at the winner's circle. His wrecked car did.
And I see a wrecker with a car on it backing up into victory lane.
You're seeing exactly what I'm seeing. They're unloading that beaten, battered Ford Thunderbird up here in victory lane.
No, I don't like wrecks. I hate wrecks. I jumped on the wrecker and asked the guy to stop. And he says, they told me to, and he started backing again, and I hit the side of his wrecker with my fist. I mean, I know put a big dent in it. The next one's gonna be in your head. You're not taking this car in there.
What Robert finally agreed to do is, you know what? We'll get a few team members, we'll take some pictures. If you look at the victory lane photos from the 92 All-Star race, I think it's Robert, Carolyn Yates, some people with RJ Reynolds, maybe a few crew members. Nobody's really smiling, and rightly so.
Here's your winning car owners, your winning crew chief, engine builder, crew, all there getting ready to celebrate what? Not knowing how their driver was?
First of all, we want to know, is Davey okay?
Yeah, Davey's okay. It did knock him out, you know, momentarily, but he says he's fine. He won the race. He, you know, gave a big thumbs up when we told him he won.
Allison was flown to the hospital, suffering from a concussion and a bruised lung.
Eyes are already bloodshot. He has no shirt on, and there's a big bruise. It looked like he had just been hit by a whip across his shoulder blade. He was pretty busted up, and he looked up. I said, well, I have good news and bad news. The good news is you won about $300,000 tonight. And I said, the bad news is your doctor's bill is going to be about $400,000. And he started laughing. He's like, stop, that pisses me off. Don't make me laugh. My ribs hurt.
The final race for King Richard Petty and the decision on who wins the Winston Cup Championship for 1992. Here today at the Hooters 500, live from Atlanta Motor Speedway. And Richard Petty is flaming going into turn number 1.
He's knocked the oil cooler off his car, and the oil is on fire.
Richard Petty, the car is on fire. Petty has got the car stopped.
It'll go out. Fire extinguisher. It'll go out. That was Richard yelling to his crew, get a fire extinguisher down here.
Yeah, I pulled up to the fire truck.
Richard said, I pulled to the fire truck.
Well, I'll tell you, that's a great presence of mine, right?
And what a way for the career of Richard Petty to end. Let's not say right now, though, that his race is over. They could get the car back going, but I doubt it. There is the King out of the car. And this may be the final farewell.
The legend, the man, the King, Richard Petty, will say goodbye to all the millions of fans who have adored him for many, many years. So on your feet, wave and say goodbye, your special way to King Richard Petty.
TNN Motorsports presents live exclusive coverage of the inaugural Super Truck event, the 18th annual Copper World Classic. Today featuring the Super Truck Series by Craftsman in their first ever official point race for NASCAR's newest touring series. Trucks rolling out onto the speedway, and Joe Diffie's right. There's something that race fans like about these pickup men, because the crowd for the Copper World Classic, the advanced sale of tickets, was larger than last year's total crowd, and they are packed in here to see 34 of these trucks do battle. You don't come much closer to losing it than right there, and that's what it took to win it all. We'll be right back.
2 laps to go. Labonte comes up on Burton and Wallace. He'll get the white flag this time around. There's Earnhardt lurking in second position off of corner 4. Terry Labonte gets the white flag, but still has this traffic to contend with.
Jeff Ledine had to come in for a splash of gas. Or a flat tire or something.
Now let's see. They're down to 4 or 5 car lengths.
And a slow car right there. Earnhardt is right on his back bumper.
Let's see what strategy he pulls. No, Labonte is sideways but wins the race. Crashes and he wins anyway. How about that? Whoa! Labonte crossed the line sideways, took the checkered flag, hit the wall, and still comes out the winner of the Goodies 500 over Dale Earnhardt. How about that?
Sliding and spinning, Wayne Jacks climbs the tires and goes over in turn 1.
Comes to rest on his side.
Glenn, there were 3 wide battling down the front straightaway, and Jack's car got tipped sideways. When he got the truck straightened out, it headed right for the pile of tires that line the inside of the quarter-mile track here. It climbed the tires, did a Bigfoot-style jump 30 feet in the air and came down and rolled up onto its side.
I had some real loose over in turn 2 now. That's where the rain's coming from. You see it real raining over there? So it's not a good time to qualify. I bet he comes on pit road, matter of fact.
Yeah, I would guess so. You know, for me doing the weather, though, I got to have the radar.
If he was smart, he would come on. He ain't too smart.
All right, thanks, Dale. Good luck, and you got your umbrella with you? No. I'll see if I can get one for you.
If you do take the checker flag and you do go to victory lane, you are the greatest race driver I have ever seen.
Well, if I do take the checker flag and we do win the Daytona 500, you boys are awesome.
Of course, we were talking a lot about is it going to go back green, but you do get to think about the significance and the excitement of winning the Daytona 500.
Let's come across here, 1, 2, 3.
Look at them lining up to come across.
It's 1, 2, 3, Hendrick's car.
Yes! We won the Daytona 500! The Daytona 500!
This was a first for really all of us. Everybody on that team came from somewhere where they worked their guts out to get there. Those memories that got you there start to just sort of flush out. As I'm coming to victory lane, somebody handed me the phone, and it was Rick. And I could tell how excited he was, and it was like mission accomplished. We set a goal to come down here, win this race, make the boss proud, and maybe make him forget about the things he was going through, and we did that.
I gotta go talk to the world here, buddy. Thank you so much. We love you, and this one's for you, man.
To be, the crew chief on the car that's won the Daytona 500. If I never win another race now as a crew chief for the rest of my career, I feel like it's pretty complete. I'm a very lucky guy.
Woo! Honestly, I never thought I would see myself in victory lane for the Daytona 500. This is wonderful. This is, the greatest honor you can ever have as a race car driver.
It's an amazing accomplishment and overwhelming, and it's almost too good to be true.
I mean, I know y'all not going to believe this, but this is not scripted. We just refuse to lose.
It was really a key moment for our race team because it really let them know that we can do anything. We left thinking we got all this on film, being a bunch of cocky bastards, if you will, and got it done. And now 1996 is just a memory. It's all about going forward. I think you could say in the mid-90s, the Rainbow Warriors had a dynasty for Hendrick Motorsports.
I just think if we could have stayed together, boy, what could we have continued to do?
Those guys, as a team, were incredible. When we played together, it was magic.
They will wave the white flag on Rusty Wallace, 0.533 miles away from win number 2 in 1997.
And heavy traffic right in front of these cars. I don't know if it's going to play into anybody's hands. Gordon takes a look again. Rusty comes down, slams the door. Gordon on ahead. Here comes Jeff Gordon to take the lead.
Gordon takes the lead. Rusty slips. Jeff Gordon will win at Bristol, Tennessee. Wallace second, Labonte third.
Look at Abraham. He is. Look at him, man.
Wow. Ray Evernham is ecstatic.
This could be the Daytona 500. Bobby Labonte goes to the outside.
Labonte up high. Earnhardt uses the lap car of Rick Bass as a pick. 20 years of trying, 20 years of frustration. Dale Earnhardt will come to the caution flag to win the Daytona 500. Finally, the most anticipated moment in racing. If John Elway can win the Super Bowl, Dale Earnhardt said he could win the Daytona 500, and if he comes around under caution to complete this final lap, the taste of long-awaited victory will be his. Checkered flag. Dale Earnhardt finally is a champion of the Daytona 500.
This might be deja vu all over again, but in reverse.
And Labonte inside of Earnhardt. He taps him going into the third corner. He gets way down on the apron of the track. Coming to the white flag. There's a leader change, and Labonte takes the lead.
And meanwhile, Ricky Rudd's running.
Oh, and Earnhardt spins him out. Oh, man. And Tony Stewart is involved in the crash, as is Mark Martin, Sterling Marlin, and several others. Dale Earnhardt takes the checkered flag.
Looking for their first win in IROC today, Labonte, Breck, Fernandez, Jarrett Moore, Cheever, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. And the field is ready to go racing here. 50 laps of competition on this 2-mile oval at Michigan. Green waves, and here we go. Dale Earnhardt. Hey, can he play the intimidator here? I don't think so.
You talking about the one in second or the one in first? Here he goes. Little E's on the inside. Junior trying to take a lead, but he pushed. Here comes Martin. Martin for second spot.
Oh, man. Martin, it's over now because they'll get side by side. Dale Sr. sitting up there saying,
But Martin can't get much of a run down there on the bottom. Earnhardt Jr. looking to the inside once again as they come through the corner. Now he's going to go to the high side.
He has a run.
Jr. may have it here. He's got a good run up on top. Let's see how it goes. Let's find out your feet. Son and father touch coming down on the line.
Man, old man Benny. Wow, what a finish. I love that. What a terrific finish. Golly, that's great. I never thought I'd see anything like that. God.
They don't get any better than that, folks, and listen to the crowd.
Man, as a 7-time Winston Cup champion, here comes the son. Big and Little E. Hang on here, Little E. What a finish, guys. Talk about that last lap.
Well, I was hoping he'd stay in line in there at least to the last lap. I seen Mark slipping back up there, but the car was a little tight all day. We just ran the car as loose as they could, and as it got down to the end there, it got closer and closer, and Dale Jr. was helping all he could, but got down there and he wanted to race, so here he comes. And I knew he'd been working the high line in 3 and 4. I've been working the bottom, and I figured if he got on the outside, we could drag race, and we did. He got a little fender bump in there going on, got exciting.
He had you had him by about maybe 2 or 3 feet with 100 yards to go, and then your dad rubbed you. He bumped you. What a surprise.
He knows how to use that air. He's pretty good at it. He sucked off the side of the car and got right back by me. I knew that he's probably going to win it. I just wanted to make it as close as I could.
Come on, get him in the fold. Get him in the
3 cars out.
Oh! Big trouble. Big wreck behind them.
Lead him back. Come on.
To the flag.
Come on, Mikey. You got it, man. You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it. Mikey! All right.
Michael Waltrip wins.
All right. That's a television dream come true. How about Dale? Is he okay?
Schrader has climbed out of his car. He and Earnhardt have crashed together between turns 3 and 4. Dale Earnhardt was removed from his car, and you see the ambulance transporting him directly to Halifax Medical Center in Daytona Beach, which fortunately is but 2 miles from the Speedway. That's all the news we have. If we don't get a further update on Earnhardt's condition during our telecast, tune into Victory Lane at 9 p.m. on Fox Sports Net tonight.
There, it looked like when Rusty run up there through the middle, it maybe just took the air off Dale's spoiler and got him loose. I don't think anybody got into him at all.
Sterling may have gotten into him just a teeny bit and got him headed up the hill. It's hard to say.
Here's the onboard view.
Those kind of licks are the worst kind. They're sudden.
After the accident in turn 4 at the end of the Daytona 500, we've lost Dale Earnhardt. Our prayers and wishes and our effort right now, this moment, is with Teresa and the Earnhardt family. NASCAR has lost its greatest driver ever.
The calendar rarely makes concessions for loss and confusion. A week later in Rockingham, there was an obligation to carry on.
I don't think anybody wanted to be at the racetrack the next week, to be honest. I think we all only wanted to be there because we all got to be with each other.
I didn't want to be there. I knew I had to go race because if I didn't go race, I might not never come back. But I didn't care about the race, didn't care about the race weekend. It was more about, is this company going to survive this? One of the things that this really teaches you the most about is how selfish you are about things like this. I mean, I miss my father, and I've cried for him, but out of my own selfish pity is the reason for those emotions. And that's really all I have to say.
As drivers strapped into their cars, most did so without a head and neck restraint system. But in light of racing's inherent dangers, innovations such as the Hans device were slowly catching on.
In 2000, we had some unfortunate incidents between losing Adam Petty and Kenny Irwin, and then later in the year in a truck race, Tony Roper. So going into 2001, there was a good deal of effort being put in to make the sport safer for drivers.
I had some of the biggest names in the sport make comments to me or about me that I was scared, that I was a pansy, that I was not a man because I cared. I didn't give a damn. Bottom line was I wanted to be safer.
Dale Earnhardt was always parked right across from me in the motorhome lot, and the conversation came up about me wearing the Hans device. His question as he looked at me was, are you wearing it because you're afraid of dying? And I looked back and said, no, I'm not afraid of dying. I'm wearing it because I think that it gives me a better chance, and it's what I look at as the next new safety device and an opportunity that we have as drivers. And certainly I had no idea what that question and how it would come back. Peace.
I couldn't imagine what, I mean, he was a kid, and I can't imagine what he was going through.
It's your boss, it's your mentor, it's your father, it's the name of the company, and you had just been given the responsibility of the Earnhardt name to carry it forward. I don't know how he was supposed to handle it.
This week has seemed like a month. We've all gone through a variety of emotions, trying to reconcile with ourselves just how a hero like Dale Earnhardt could be taken away. Today, life goes on, and so does racing, just like Dale would have wanted it.
There was a mood and a feel of, okay, I'm doing this, but I'm not sure how I'm going to do it or even if I want to do it, but I know I have to do it.
Was he mentally prepared to get in that car? I don't know how anybody could have been mentally prepared to get in the car. During the warm-up laps and coming to the green, how can you not have that in your mind?
The green flag goes in the air, and we are underway in the New Loop 400 as they race to turn one.
No outside. Come on low, come on. Right in front of you. Stay low, stay low. Trouble in turn 4. Dale Earnhardt Jr. head on into the concrete.
From the last lap of last Sunday to the first lap of this.
This cannot be happening to that young man. It looked so similar to Dad's wreck. I was embarrassed by that. I was embarrassed because it looked like it looked.
After the accident, he wanted to go home. He didn't want to fix it, didn't want to mess it. I don't think he wanted to be there. What raised us all back up, Steve Park came to life.
Here comes Steve Park now. This is one of Dale Earnhardt Incorporated's cars. It would be a very, very popular win.
The first time Steve Park went to Rockingham, he was horrible. And Dale sat down with him and went over to the racetrack. You got to let off here, you get on the gas here. This is how you preserve your tires. He taught him that. We were leading that race, and Bobby Labonte is coming.
Bobby Labonte full of hustle. Steve Park is full of heart. Looking to pull even into turn 3. Labonte is there. Park on the outside trying to hold him off.
One last effort at him at the start-finish line, but it will be Steve Park.
If that didn't happen, I don't know what would have happened to the company, because him winning was like, wait a minute, you know, this is possible, this is doable.
With Steve Park in victory lane, Dale Earnhardt Incorporated could see a way forward. The future seemed less certain at Richard Childress Racing. Earnhardt had been the team's lead driver since 1984. Black number 3 became the white number 29, and Busch Series driver Kevin Harvick became a Cup Series rookie, an unproven name forced to fill the shoes of a legend.
Kevin Harvick now is a household name, but then he was just a guy in from the West Coast.
Gordon's going to make the big move on the inside when they get down here to turn 3. Slow car might be in the way. Here he comes. He's going to drive it to the bottom.
Oh, Harvick's leaving a lot of bottom over.
This slow car is going to be in the way. Just like a year ago, he's going to get him, though. He's going to get him. Gordon got loose in turn by inches. What a race. What a finish.
How did Jeff Gordon hang on to that car that loose on turn 4?
Man. We got him. I think we got him. 29 car. You got him, buddy. Harvick, you got him.
6/1,000ths of a second.
Nice job.
Here they come, turn 4, final lap of the Pepsi 400. Michael Waltrip in second, but it's going to be Dale Earnhardt Jr. using lessons learned from his father to go from 6th to 1st and score the victory in the Pepsi 400.
That's unbelievable.
Yes!
That man behind you did it for you. You guys celebrate. You love you, man. You did it.
That was beautiful. Very, very nice.
Junior, you're happy.
All right.
Look at that smile.
It's the inaugural NASCAR Nextel Pit Crew Challenge Championship, and this is the title matchup. The 9 team and the 42 team. Inside of 10 seconds, gentlemen. Get ready. Get set. They're off for the title.
You see right now these guys have gotten around the right side of the car real quickly. Right sides are off. Now let's see if we can get around the left side the quickest. The race could be easy between these jackmans. The 42 car guys gets tangled up a little bit, but they got the left sides off. 9 is done quicker.
And the red-hot 9 team of Ray Evernham, Casey Kane, appears to have won the inaugural Pit Crew Challenge.
Coming to the finish line. Greg Biffle goes 3 in a row at Homestead. And Jimmy Johnson is the 2006 NASCAR Nextel Cup Series champion.
Jimmy Johnson captures the 2006 Nextel Cup trophy. But a champion is only forged by the competition he faces. And Mark Martin is one of the best.
This has been the most demanding year of my career and of my life. Start talking about all the struggles and all the things that or the challenges and all the things that we overcame. We'll never see times like that again. And as far as I'm concerned, I'll always be number 6.
Jeff Gordon rounds turn 4. Become the first driver in the history of Phoenix International Raceway to win a Cup race from the pole. Jeff Gordon finally gets his first Phoenix win and ties Dale Earnhardt.
Gordon, I got a special flag for you at the start-finish line. If you want it, bud, come and get it. Special flag.
Look at the hats if you want an indication of what that flag says.
A pretty good idea of what it will say.
As Jeff Gordon salutes the Richard Childress-owned number 3 as it was driven by Dale Earnhardt to 6 of his 7 Nextel Cup championships tonight. Gordon ties Earnhardt for career wins in Nextel Cup racing.
And I don't think there's any question. We've known for years that Jeff Gordon's going to rewrite the record book. I mean, he's a young man. He's still got a lot of racing ahead of him, a lot of wins, championships. We always knew he would rewrite the record books.
Oh, the emotion now. Chad Canals.
It's phenomenal. You guys are awesome. Thank you, boys. We're going to tear it up tonight.
Let's go racing, boys! Let's go racing, boys! Let's go racing, boys! Let's go racing, boys! Let's go racing, boys!
In one of the biggest shakeups in NASCAR history, 32-year-old Dale Earnhardt Jr. declared himself a free agent at the end of the season.
It became apparent to me the man I wanted to drive for. I've known him since childhood, and so today it is with great honor to introduce my new boss for 2008, Mr. Rick Hendrick.
Dale, how about you? When you used to having 3 teammates?
Yeah, I came from quite a different situation driving for my own family, and I only had one teammate for the most part. There wasn't a lot of, working back and forth, not as much as we do now. The technical side's been the biggest surprise, just really kind of getting in there, and the meetings and all the stuff. Everybody's so thorough, from the engine shop all the way down. It's so incredible.
Coming to the line, Dale Earnhardt Jr. wins the 2008 Budweiser Shootout, scoring the first victory in his tenure at Hendrick Motorsports. Jr. hoping to win everything this week at Speed Weeks at Daytona, and so far he's 2 for 2. He has won the first race of the Gatorade Duel in his 15th start for Hendrick Motorsports. Finally, Dale Earnhardt Jr. is going to score a points-paying event.
Yeah, baby! Way to go, Tony Jr.!
Speak about not believing that you have a teammate, and I didn't think I'd have Junior as a teammate because, well, one, because I remember meeting him when he was, I don't know, how old were you when I met you?
I had to have been about 20, 21.
I was talking to your dad, and, I think we were out there on pit road, I don't know, something, I
was
just
sitting
remember the
on
late
pit road, and he walked up and said, I want to introduce you to this guy. You're going to hear more about this guy. And it was Jeff.
Here comes Earnhardt. He's all the way to the bottom, almost in the grass. He slides up the racetrack, and Jeff Gordon will win. Oh, he's getting a little shot after there.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Wonder Boy's here.
I hear him talking about me.
You talk like a little girl.
What? I'm sorry, man. I'm just not as big as you.
And so I remember, him, young, coming up through the ranks, and I mean, he was so young, I go, man.
You've pretty much grown up in the sport. Would you like to have a career in racing, and if so, what would you like to do, Dale?
Well, I want to be a race car driver someday. It's a great sport. I love it to death. It's all I've ever known. Racing.
I didn't even know if I'd see you in Cup because I thought I'd be long gone by then. It seemed like you were so young, but then to have you as a teammate, it's pretty amazing how far things have come. Yeah.
Carl Edwards gets his 9th win of the year, and Jimmy Johnson makes history as a 3-time consecutive NASCAR Sprint Cup champion.
For 28 years, the ritual has been the same. 1,000 times settling down, cinching in. 1,000 prayers. Always the same. Never grows old. His burning desire on this day to drive to compete at a level better than he has ever performed before. 1,000 green flags, each representing a personal challenge for which few have worked harder than Mark Martin. His is an old story. In 1974, at age 15, he had a 55 Chevy. A kid on a dusty Arkansas dirt track getting seat time, believing that someday he would play his game on the biggest stage the sport has to offer. An unswerving desire to excel has spawned a total of 94 wins over 28 seasons. But with Mark Martin, it's more than winning that has made him one of the most admired drivers in NASCAR history. Kyle Petty once called him a pit bull. He is tenacious, sinks his teeth in, and refuses to let go, said Kyle. And he caught the eye of up-and-coming car owner Jack Roush. They became one of the most successful owner-driver combos in NASCAR history.
Mark, you're going to be just fine. You got 8 laps on your left side tires. That's all you got, bud. You're going to be just fine.
The strategy? He has said, I don't know what strategy is. I just race. The strategy is to win. Not only on Sundays, but on Saturdays, that strategy has worked out for him. Setting an all-time record in the NASCAR Nationwide Series in 1997.
Mark Martin sets the record, and he breaks the record of Jack Ingram, set many, many years ago.
48 wins, 7 Truck Series wins, with 6 of those coming in only 14 starts on the 2006 season. What is it that makes him so unique, so special among that list of all-time NASCAR greats? Over the years, I have developed some skills for survival, he says. To be successful at anything as competitive as this, you have to be thick-skinned and you have to be tough, or you won't survive. And that doesn't mean I don't bleed. His toughness is not just in mental attitude, but in physical makeup. No extra body fat here, no splurging. His regimen for building mind and body is the envy of those with whom he competes.
Got a message for Carl. Get you some of those at 47, Carl.
Today, he sits in a car from the Hendrick Racing stable, has 4 wins this season, poised to make another Cup Series championship run. But that is not what earns the admiration of race fans young and old, or his younger counterparts at Bristol tonight. It's his honesty, his stark honesty. He is one who says what he means, and to heck with the politics. Mark Martin has earned a special place among the best in the business. It's not just his fearlessness, driving through barriers of physical pain from time to time. What captures our imagination is something he once said right here on Speed. Mark Martin said the 3 most meaningful words in his vocabulary are class, dignity, and respect. Well, Mark, that's good enough for most of us. As you make that 1,000th start tonight here at Bristol, know that a nation of racing fans are with you. Have a good ride.
Open up the history books, folks. On a November night in 2009, Jimmie Johnson is a 4-time Cup winner.
Carl Edwards is going to win the race, but coming through turns 3 and 4, the championship is going to go to Jimmie Johnson. And if you don't think he's going to be one of the greatest, think again.
You're looking at the 5-time champion.
You're looking at him.
Fox Deportes, the Big Ten Network, Speed, Fuel TV, FoxSports.com, Fox Soccer, FSN, and Fox Sports, the greatest collection of sports properties in the world.
We are Fox Sports!
Keep that pedal down on the floor. Push it to the crowd, can't take no more than that. Since the flag came down, be heard to the last lap around. Worked all week, it's time to play. Gonna get a little bit sideways. Hey, since the flag came down, be heard to the last lap around. Worked all week, it's time to play. Gonna get a little bit sideways.
It's one of the great scenes in all of sports. It's America's greatest race, the 53rd running of the Daytona 500. One driver's dream will be realized today. A high honor will come with high risk and high speed. And these are more than just men behind the wheel. They take on an almost superhero-like look with powers that few can master. And we will watch them try and master this newly repaved track here at the Daytona International Speedway.
Former pole sitter of the 500. Edwards has room underneath. Now he pushes Trevor Bayne.
It's over.
Cinderella.
Trevor Bayne is going to win the Daytona 500.
Unbelievable.
Happy birthday, Trevor Bayne, 20 years old.
Are you kidding me?
The death of 7-time champion Dale Earnhardt made for some major safety changes in NASCAR. Many of the innovations actually came from the IndyCar series, like the safer barrier and the Hans device. Last week's tragic death of IndyCar driver Dan Wheldon has once again put safety in the forefront of many people's minds.
Since they've been racing, they've been wrecking. Many see it as one of NASCAR's attractions, the danger that stalks the dash to the finish line. That danger is real and all too familiar.
Danger, getting killed, getting hurt, getting burned was just part of the deal. If you wanted to go racing, you had to put up with it.
Even 3 deaths in 2000 kept most drivers from recognizing the impact of their high-risk occupation.
People just weren't aware of it. They weren't upset about it. The best explanation I can understand is that people that race are people that decide to either accept the risk or they are willing to ignore the risk. Basilar skull fracture is the most common way that race car drivers have been killed over the years. I realized that in the crash, the torso is restrained, the head is unrestrained and moves forward. If I could counteract that motion of the head, then I could restrain the head relative to the torso, reduce the neck tension, and essentially eliminate the motions and forces that cause this basilar skull fracture.
The Hans, or head and neck support, tethers the driver's helmet to a collar. Seat belts placed over the collar ensure the head moves with the body, diminishing severe whiplash during impact. Following the death of Dale Earnhardt, use of the Hans device became mandatory. The requirement of this safety component brought comfort to the competitor and its developer.
It's been very, very gratifying to me to have really a dream come true. Having a serious injury problem, a technical injury problem, respond to that in ways that are useful and acceptable to people. It's hard to describe how emotionally gratifying that is.
The improvement in driver safety allowed focus to shift to the point of contact. In racing's early days, tracks were surrounded by guardrails that weren't strong enough to support certain impacts. Concrete walls were then used, but they were too strong and didn't properly transfer energy away from the point of impact. In 2002, a steel and foam energy reduction barrier, a safer barrier, was developed by the University of Nebraska's Dean Sicking and Indianapolis Motor Speedway to dissipate energy at impact. Eventually, safer barriers were installed at every NASCAR Premier Series venue and have proven invaluable to the prevention of serious injury. After years of development, NASCAR unveiled a radically different new car in the spring of 2007. Designed with an emphasis on safety, this car merged several initiatives that protected the driver from a variety of threats.
Whoa, whoa, guys, whoa, whoa. Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. I have never seen anything like that in my life.
He hit that wall a ton.
Well, that's what killed Dale. I mean, that was how fast he was going.
Yeah.
Obviously, it looks very different than it did before. It's got the splitter on the front instead of the old front valence. I think the other thing that's very unique is it's much more tightly constrained. In the old car, teams could really change quite a few things. In the new car, there's a lot less on the body they can actually change. Now, if you talk about it in terms of safety, I think the car's doing exactly what NASCAR wanted it to do. If you look at the crashes that have occurred, drivers walk away from those crashes. I think the new car is significantly safer than the old car.
Since Dale Earnhardt's death in 2001, NASCAR has suffered no fatalities, though there has been no shortage of incidents providing additional data for analyzing the state of safety. Incidents like Jimmy Johnson's wreck in the closing laps of the Charlotte chase race.
Oh, right hand there, Jimmy Johnson, sideways. Is he going to be able to save it? No. What a hard hit.
We're done, guys.
You know, the numbers were high, but when you look at the frequency and how long the impact lasted, it was spread out over a long period of time because of the soft wall and because of the steel cage that we have around our car, and it makes it a very forgiving impact in the scheme of things. You know, the velocity was very high, but the G number was average, which is great. You know, that G number should have been double that if it wasn't into a soft wall.
Despite the advancements in safety across all disciplines of motorsport, danger, even death, is inescapable. Racing can never shake those inherent dangers. But as long as there are brave competitors racing for the checkered flag, there will be brave innovators racing to keep the sport safe.
Ooh, close, wide into turn 4. That moves Kyle Busch all the way up the racetrack. He has to catch it before he gets in the wall. And Hornaday catches the wall.
Caution's out, caution's out.
Caution is going to come out.
Both drivers trying to get by. Looked like the 17 of Timothy Peters. They slid up the racetrack, and now Kyle Busch not happy at all.
It's all good, dude.
And Kyle Busch is going to turn the 33 into the wall. Our championship contender Hornaday in the wall.
Well, Kyle Busch should be parked for this race and maybe the rest of the season for that.
Holy cow, I can't believe he did that.
Championship contender Ron Hornaday hard into the wall. Kyle Busch sends him in.
What happened with Kyle Busch, NASCAR parking him, suspending him from a truck race Friday night in Texas through the Nationwide and Cup race. Let's take a look at what happened, and then I want to get your reaction. First of all, what was your immediate reaction?
I couldn't believe it happened. I couldn't believe he snapped that quick. That was my immediate reaction because 14 laps into the race, how can you piss somebody off that bad 14 laps into the race? You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, I just couldn't believe he snapped.
I was sitting watching the race. I didn't think it was real. I mean, I thought I'm sitting there watching this under caution, and then he runs up and wrecks around Horner. I did not think it was real. It was almost surreal.
I was speechless. I couldn't believe that a Cup driver came to the Truck Series and took his title chance away from him in a split second. Speechless.
2002, he was the champion. 2005, he was the champion, those driving for someone else. This time, he's an older driver, and he's going to become a three-time NASCAR Sprint Cup champion. Tony Stewart wins it.
So we got it? We got it. We got the tiebreaker, baby. Awesome job.
We said all week we just go out and win the race. We didn't have to worry about what he did, and that's what we did. And just if this doesn't go down as one of the greatest championship battles in history, I don't know what will.
0.453 seconds. Who will be the 2012 champion? We're about to find out.
200th win on Saturday night. Could this be the first championship for Hendrick Motorsports here in this competition? TJ Majors, just like he's been the whole time. He's got it going to the car.
48 car moves first. The 11th, a dead heat. The push is gone.
They got everybody there. This
nose to nose is the difference.
Hey, kicked it in gear.
Yeah. 48 surges, 22.239, the fastest time of the night. If they're penalty free, they are the 2012 champions.
Free. They're clean. They're clean.
The 48 team can celebrate.
NASCAR's first racers are strictly stock cars. Rising speeds and safety concerns lead NASCAR to re-examine the design. NASCAR's greatest generation. The cars on track still look the same as in the showroom. Win on Sunday, sell on Monday becomes Detroit's battle cry. Shortened wheelbase cars begin moving away from stock appearance for aero efficiency. NASCAR mandates a restrictor plate to slow top speeds. Gen 4 cars remove all the stock from stock car racing. These are race cars, purpose-built for high downforce and low drag. The car of tomorrow. It's NASCAR's safest race car ever, but its aero-matched appearance leaves no distinct manufacturer identities. Which leads us to Generation 6. Chevys, Fords, Toyotas, 3 unique body styles to put the stock back in stock car racing.
For 18 years, it's been our honor and privilege to present Motorsports, an automotive-related program to you on the network that began as Speed Vision, became Speed Channel, and is now known as Speed. From the visionaries who started this network, from maintenance to management, from the talent to the truck drivers, we've shared your passion for motorsport over these many years. We love that you care as much about your cars as family, God, and country, and so do we. But now, it's time to switch off the ignition and turn in the keys. This is the end of Speed in America. We hope you'll follow us on our new journey to Fox Sports 1, because all your favorite live NASCAR programming and much more is coming along with us. So now, it's good night and farewell to America's Motorsports Authority, Speed.
And here he comes, champion for the 6th time, it's Jimmy Johnson.
2013, excuse me. Yes! Thank you, guys. What a race team.
Can't do this for 10 laps.
Eric Jones around. Back across the field. The big one, part 2 at Daytona.
Yeah, they can't do this.
Say hi. Nice straight. Did anybody hit you there, Cal?
A horrific crash for Kyle Busch, who slid through the infield grass and went head-on into the inside wall. And he is climbing from that car, and that is an unbelievable sight. Wow.
I mean, he hit that wall head on. Looked like he never even slowed down.
And you see Kyle here being tended to by medical officials. And he is alert and obviously talking, and that's a great sign.
Kyle, he was trying to save it as long as he could. He was just barely going sideways. He was trying to save it, and then he noticed, it was obvious he couldn't get it saved. And
they've stabilized or tried to that right leg.
Kevin and Michael talking during a commercial break. We're 15 years into this safety project. We should not be racing at a single racetrack without safer barrier inside and outside walls. I've said it, and somebody can take me to task, but there's no excuse for it.
Right leg pain is the issue. They took him through with an ambulance straight to Halifax Medical Center, bypassed the infield care center. His wife, Samantha, his sponsors, his friends, his team all went directly to the hospital. As soon as we have an update this evening, we will get it to you in regards to tomorrow's running of the Daytona 500 and what will happen with the 18 car and Kyle Busch from here on out.
I mean, you have to admit, this is an incredible accomplishment for this young man. To come out of the hospital, get back in his car. He won the Xfinity race in Michigan, and here he is. He's going to drive this thing into victory circle here on a road course where people thought it might be his Achilles heel.
Kurt closes the gap, 5 car lengths as Kurt wobbles off turn 10. One last chance at turn 11.
Watch this 4 and the 15 back there. They got a pretty good battle going on for third.
And off the final turn, no crutches necessary. Kyle Busch wins at Sonoma. And for the first time in Sprint Cup history, the Busch brothers finish 1-2. One more time around. Kyle Busch missed the first 11 races of the season with a broken leg and a broken foot after an accident at Daytona.
It's by 20.
Down the backstretch. His closest competitor, just a dot in the rearview mirror. Through 3 and 4. No one has battled through as much pain and had as much perseverance as 30-year-old Kyle Busch. Tonight he earns his first Cup title. Kyle Busch, the 2015 NASCAR Sprint Cup champion.
Oh my God! Look at me,
Jeff Gordon looking for a storybook ending to the 2015 season. Out of 3 and 4, this win's gonna punch his ticket to the championship 4. Gordon wins at Martinsville.
Yeah, that's how you fight. Hey boys, that's how you do it. That was huge. That was huge. God, I love you guys. Great job. Way to hang in there. That's what I talk about. Fight and dig it, boys. That's what we do.
Been a boisterous crowd.
Burn that baby down! Burn that baby down!
And I believe this crowd got what they wanted tonight. A lock for the Hall of Fame. Jeff Gordon, in his final season in the Sprint Cup Series, gets win number 93 on his career, and more importantly, he moves into a position where he could get his 5th championship. Sunoco continues to fuel victories. And Jeff Gordon might be celebrating as much as we've ever seen.
If it doesn't work out, I'm going to have to find something else. Definitely, I want to go racing all the way.
Here he goes now. Have a look at the young fella. Jeff Gordon, absolutely brilliant, just 15 years of age.
Looks like he's going to be able to do it. Gordon wins the 1997 NASCAR Winston Cup Championship. Jeff Gordon's Pepsi Chevy is going to win the Pepsi 400.
I'm going to race him the same way he races me, but that kind of stuff's just uncalled for, and I'm not going to stand for it.
Oh, you're an idiot. I want to kill you. That was amazing.
Is there anybody in this world who deserves this here Pepsi more than you?
When Homestead comes and that final lap happens, it's mainly going to be one that wraps up a career that I'm extremely proud of.
Here today to confirm the news you received this morning that I've decided to make this season my last as a NASCAR Cup driver.
I'm personally satisfied with my career.
I've got to race with some of the greatest personalities and the greatest race car drivers in the world, and that's been a huge honor for me.
I wake up in the morning thinking about racing. I think about it all day. I go to bed thinking about it, and I have dreams about racing.
There were some cheers, but then there were some boos. But you accepted me. You supported me so much over the years, and this year you rewarded me so much.
Jeff Gordon in his last race climbing out of his car. A racing career that started at the age of 5. Jeff Gordon has lived his dream, and he took us along for that ride.
Turns out, Jeff Gordon didn't get that perfect ending, but he got damn close. He's left a legacy that's a lot bigger than one race. He did everything the sport could ask, and now a whole bunch of talented youngsters are ready to take over from here. They'll put their own mark on NASCAR, because that's how it's always been. But Jeff Gordon will be one tough act to follow.
He hit him.
Hey, got him. Oh, no!
It's not over.
Get it back.
Denny got in there and wheel hopped. I don't think he meant for that to happen, but then he made contact with Tony. I think Tony was also pretty loose getting in there.
Well, that was what happened to Tony lap before, you know, when he got loose into 7 and that allowed Hamlin to close up.
Hey, this thing's not over, guys. Watch what happens into turn 11 in this heavy braking zone.
2 more corners. Hamlin trying to pull
Tony's
away.
Close enough.
I think Tony used up his stuff. I mean, we knew he was having, you know, issues
Here we go.
with the car.
Stewart inside. He
Hamlin
is
went
there.
wide.
He
What in
gets
the world?
Hamlin. They hit. And Stewart comes off turn 11. Look at that. And he's coming to the flag.
How did that
Tony
just happen?
Stewart wins.
How did that happen? Are you kidding me?
Oh, my goodness.
Tony Stewart is the 2002 NASCAR Winston Cup champion. Tony Stewart is the 2005 champion.
After 33 wins, 2 titles, and a playbook of life lessons, the 38-year-old left Joe Gibbs Racing and bought part ownership in an unproven operation.
That's probably the single hardest decision I've ever made in my life. People thought it was the end of me when I left him. They thought, well, he's going to go over there and he's going to run 30th every week. Anytime anybody said, oh, it's the end of him, it just sparks a fire with me, and we bust our butt to prove him wrong.
One of the greatest 10 race stretches in NASCAR history has been punctuated with a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series championship for Tony Stewart.
Oh my God, are you kidding me? If this doesn't go down as one of the greatest championship battles in history, I don't know what will.
Tony won another championship 3 years later with driver Kevin Harvick. It was a welcome break during the toughest time in Tony's life. First, from a severely broken leg suffered during a sprint car crash, followed 12 months later by another sprint car accident which took the life of a fellow competitor.
That's where the racing community and your racing family comes in, because there were plenty of times that I just was ready to walk away. Didn't care about the fact that we were in the middle of a season, or didn't care that sponsors had contracts. I just wanted out. So I'm glad I had friends that, made me keep pushing. They're like, you've never quit on anything in your life. Why are you going to quit now?
And so Smoke announced 2016 would be his final NASCAR Sprint Cup Series season behind the wheel. The champ would go one more round. That is, until an off-road mishap left him sidelined for 2 months. Tony's farewell was shaping up to be a flop.
I broke my L1 vertebrae and a blast fracture. The pieces just went everywhere. And I got really lucky because I was 3 millimeters away from being paralyzed.
Don't tell me if I've lost it.
I'd ran bad for 2 years and couldn't even come close to winning a race. Just more out of embarrassment than anything. It's like I thought I was better than that. Maybe the people that are saying I'm old and washed up and no good anymore are right. I don't know. You're just like, man, hopefully people quit paying attention to me and we'll get to Homestead and we'll slide off into the sunset and nobody will know the difference.
Tony Stewart, a single carlet off the rear deck lid of Denny Hamlin. Hamlin pulling away ever so slightly right now.
This thing's not over, guys. Watch what happens into turn 11 in this heavy braking zone.
Here comes Stewart. He gets to the inside. Stewart shuts him out. Tony Stewart wins at Sonoma.
My goal is to win my last season.
How does that feel, buddy?
I wanted to prove to myself that I can still win. It was good for my heart. It was good for my mind.
It's special, trust me.
Jimmy Johnson through 3 and 4. Make room. Richard Petty and Dale Earnhardt. There's another 7-time champ. Jimmy Johnson wins his 7th NASCAR Sprint Cup Championship.
You are looking at 7-time champion, Sprint NASCAR champion, Jimmy Johnson.
I consider it a huge accomplishment that it's been one owner, one sponsor, one manufacturer, one driver, one crew chief, and one car chief for 15 years.
Southern California, turn up the stereo.
Crank it up.
It was a beautiful day. The sun beat down. I had the radio on. I was driving. Trees flew by. Me and Del were singing. Little runaway. I was flying. Yeah, running down the dream. They never would come to me.
If the track bar is high, my exit's just really bad. I'm blowing up at 91. Just there, nothing dragging back, still down there. Off there all the way.
Between 3 and 4 and headed for home. Kyle Busch in his Joe Gibbs Toyota is going to win his 53rd race in the Cup Series and hit his magic number 200 in Southern California. The Joe Gibbs crew has the flag for 200 victories across NASCAR's 3 National Series, Trucks, Xfinity, and the Monster Energy Cup Series. Kyle Busch out of the car, raises the flag.
Oh boy.
And waves it for the fans.
Oh, buddy.
There's the signature bow.
And I don't think anybody knows how hard it's been to get to this 200 win mark than that guy right there. I mean, he's been behind the wheel, putting his heart and soul into every one of those races.
Whether in triumph or tears, the NASCAR family closes another day at the track. Emotions encapsulate the toll this life can take, but it is a sign of life lived to the fullest. The checkered flag is the culmination of the week-long effort, but it is only the signal to start the journey again. A winner is showered, history written, memories made. And at last, another 36 weeks on the road have come to an end.